Welcome to this new tutorial series in which we want to make a game that will look pretty exactly like this game right here. You see, we have a player character and we have some enemies and we can shoot the enemies. We have an ammo count, we have a score, we have 5 lives, and if we now have 0 lives, we die. And we have a little basic menu and that's it. But time is rare, so let's get started. 1909 games. Let's make games. At first, let me show you what we want to do exactly. So we want to have a player character that will be able to move, and it will have some nice visuals, it will have the ability to shoot, and for that we need some bullets. The bullets will be destroyed when they touch an enemy, and the enemy will be destroyed when they touch the bullet, and so on and so on. Then we have the enemy itself, and that will be able to move from right to left. We'll have some visuals too, and it needs to get spawned somehow. And we need some UI elements, and that UI elements will be for the score, for the ammo count, and for the lives. And then we will have a nice little background that you see right here. Maybe it will look a little bit different at the end, because I prepared it before and we will do it from beginning, from scratch, so maybe it looks a little bit different, but I try to make almost the same. Okay, so first let's add a new Unity project. For that, let's open Unity, a new project. It will be a 2D project and it will be called, let's call it Juicy Tutorial, because the game will be sound pretty juicy and so on. And now let's create the new Unity project, and we need to wait until Unity is done. And for waiting, coffee and so on. So, and here we go with our new Unity project, and we have set up a main camera. And for the beginning, I really don't like this blue background, so just let's make it, let's make it just white. And if we now press play, nothing will happen. Of course, nothing will happen, because we have an empty object, an empty project. And now we want to create our character. So create an empty object in our hierarchy. And here in the inspector, you see the position, the rotation, and the scale. And it is okay like this. We want to keep it like this. And we want a child object on this game object. So the first game object, let's recall it to player. And the second object that sits on the player, let's call it visuals. Okay. And the visuals will have a sprite renderer component. So here we go. And we have not really a nice sprites here. And for the beginning, let's just make a pixel and scale it up. And like this we can have a placeholder visual, because better visuals we will make in the third episode. So let's go to Critter or to Photoshop or whatever and create a new document. And you can set the pixel to 1 by 1, so width and height. Create it, and that's it. You don't need to do more right here, just export it and drag and drop your pixel into your new Unity project. And you can make a new folder for it. So let's call it images, or images. So we can drag and drop it inside. And our visuals here on the player will have the sprite that is called pixel. And you see nothing happened because it is just 1 by 1 pixel, and that's pretty small. So now we can scale up our visuals to 100 by 100 pixels. And we can choose a nice color, because we wouldn't see it here. You see in the game view right here, white on white is nothing. Let's make it a nice grayish color. And since we don't want to have it in the middle of the screen, but on the left corner, let's drag and drop it. Let's put it right over here. That's okay, I guess. So the position is minus 6.5 on the x-axis. Okay, beautiful. We have our player, and the player needs to be able to shoot. And we need a point, a position from which the player will shoot. So let's create an empty game object, another an empty game object on the player and call it shoot point. Beautiful. And the shoot point will be in front of the player. But let's make the player a slightly different color because it's exactly the same like this gray in the background right here. Okay, let's make it a little bit darker like this. Okay, perfect. And the shoot point will be visualized by a gray dot right here. And it will be... Oh, I cannot drag it. Why not? Ah, there we go. We drag it just in front of the player. And when the player now moves up or down, the shoot point will move the same. And like this, we will shoot always from this point in front of the player. So, that's all we need to do for the moment right here. Now let's go on our player and add a rigid body 2D. And like this, if we have the gravity scale applied to 1, you will see that the box will fall. So we have basic physics. But we don't want to have a falling character because we have a top-down perspective. So let's set it to 0, so the gravity scale, and the collision detection to continuous. And on the visuals, we want to have a box collider 2D. And what you will see when we zoom in right here, and we will add the box collider. This is a green thing you see here. If I drag it, you know, it will automatically, because it is a box collider on a box scale with the visuals. Okay. Perfect. And next we need a player script. So add a new component, call it player script or whatever. Call it whatever you like. So new script and create and add this script. So here we have our script, player script, and double click on the script to open it up in a Visual Studio. And now what we need to do at first, because we don't want this basic stuff that's going on right here with the void update and void start, you can just delete it. So, and now we have an empty script. And what we need are some variables. So at first we need a private vector 2 for the movement, and that will be the target. Next we need the amount how much we will move up and down. That will be called the Y move. And that's it so far. So we have our private vector 2, that's the target, and the public float, it is Y move, and we can set it here to 3 for the beginning. I think that will be a good movement. And we want the player not to move freely up and down, but we want to have 3 positions that the player can move towards. So if we start in the middle, we can go up 1 and we can go down 1 unit. For that we make a new private void update. So private void update. And now we need to get some input. So if we get a button down, then we will move. But that's not all. Now you see we have if input.get key down, key code W. So the key code is in this case W because we want to have W and S for moving. And the transform.position, so the position of the player is not higher than 1 because we want to move up just 1 time, you know, we just want to be able to move 1 unit up. So here we have it, transform.position.y, because we are moving on the y-axis, is lower than 1, then we want to move up. Here we have the target, that's the vector 2 right here, is a new vector 2, and that will be the transform.position on the x-axis, that will stay like this. And the transform.position.y plus the y move. So that's the variable we have right here. So it will go up 3 units. And then we move the player up. And that is the transform.position equals target. And we want to have the same when we go down. So let's copy it. but we want to have the key code S for going down, and the position.y must be bigger than -1. And the target right here will be minus, so the transform.position.y will be minus the y move. And that's it. Now we can see in the game that we have a moving character that's not falling down. And that's pretty easy, right? So we can go 1 unit up, 1 unit down. Beautiful. But we don't have the ability to shoot. And so we need to type in if, and again, input.get key down, and we want to have the key code space in this example. And in this case, we don't want to move the player, so we want to instantiate a new game object, and that will be the bullet, because we are shooting a projectile. So we will type in instantiate, and here we have to type in which object we want to instantiate, and that will be the bullet, and we need a new variable for that. So public game object bullet, and we want to instantiate the bullet at the position of the shoot point that we have done. So on this position right here, we want to instantiate the bullet. So we need another new game object, and that will be called shoot point. And we need the position of the shoot point. So, and we need a rotation, and that will be quaternion dot identity. So it will be straight. And when we now go to Unity, we will see that we can drag and drop the shoot point in our shoot point, but we don't have a bullet. We don't have a game object to drag inside our bullet. So let's create one. Create an empty game object that will be called a bullet, or reset the position quickly. So, and add a component that will be the sprite renderer. And we want, again, a little pixel, but in this case, it will be 20 by 20 units, so a little bit smaller than the player itself. It will have a slightly different color. Okay, beautiful. And we need a script. So let's make a bullet script. Okay, here we go. And we need, of course, a collider. I mean, that's, you know, we need a box collider. And a rigid body 2D again. And set the gravity to 0 because we don't want the bullet to fall in either. So continuous, and that's it so far. Let's go into the script and delete everything that's there by default. Oh. Okay, beautiful. In this case, we want to set the velocity, so the speed of the bullet. So we need a reference to our rigid body. So private rigid body 2D. We call it RB. And we want to know how fast the bullet will move. So we need a float. So and it will be public. And I set it to 5 for the beginning, and we will see. And when we set it to public, we can adjust it in the inspector later. So that's why I do it public right here. And we need to assign the rigid body to our private rigid body 2D. And we do this in the awake function. So here we tell Unity that the RB is a component of our game object, so get component, and the rigid body 2D. And we want to set the speed at the start function, so what we do is we use our rigid body 2D dot velocity, so the speed of the bullet, and set it to a new vector 2, and that will be on the y-axis bullet speed, and on the x-axis 0, because we just want one direction movement. And the next thing we want to do will be that if we collide with the enemy, that the bullet will get destroyed then. So we use a tag for that. So private void on trigger enter. So if the trigger enters another trigger, then the collider or the game object will check if the game object has the tag enemy, so that the other object has the tag enemy, and then we want to destroy our game object. We don't have an enemy right now, and we don't have a tag right now, so let's set this up pretty quickly, or save at first. So let's go in, and the bullet will have the tag bullet at first. And let's add another tag for the enemy. Okay. Let's delete this and add an enemy tag. Okay, and the bullet will have the tag bullet, and now we can drag and drop the bullet on our bullet in our player script. And let's see what will happen. We can shoot when we press space, and the bullets will, you know, fly to the right, and there's no enemy, so there's no point to shoot, but you know, we can shoot pretty quickly. And I don't like that. We want to have control over how fast we can shoot. And for that, let's make a public float. And that will be the fire rate, and that will be 0.2, and that means that we can shoot every 0.2 seconds. And we need a public bool or a private bool. And that will be called can shoot. And before we want to create this bullet, we want to check if can shoot is true. So let's check here if input.key get key down, key code space, and can shoot, sorry, and can shoot. And then we need an IE numerator, and let's call this one fire rate. And what we want to do here is, at first we want to set the can shoot to false, then we will wait for the fire rate, and then we set can shoot to true again. So first thing, can shoot equals false. So that's the first thing when we call it. False. Then we want to make this one here. Let's copy and paste it, and then we can delete it right here. And here we can say start coroutine, and that will be the fire rate. So beautiful. Okay. And after we have done that, we can shoot again. So can shoot equals to true. And before that, we want, of course, to count the time. So we need this yield return, a new wait for seconds, and how many seconds, like the fire rate, so 0.2, and then we can shoot again. So let's save it and let's see how it is working in our project. So it's not working at all. Okay, why not? Oh yeah, we have to set it to true at the beginning. True. Okay. Okay, now we can shoot. But not too fast, you know, we have 0.2 seconds. Maybe a little bit longer, maybe 0.3, but that's okay for the moment. So we can shoot. And now we need an enemy. So for the enemy, let's create again a new game object. Oh, and the bullet right here. Let's make a new folder, I forgot that, and make a prefab out of it. So prefab, drag it from your hierarchy into the prefab folder, and then you can delete the bullet that's in the scene. And on the player, you see bullet is missing, so drag and drop the prefab inside. Okay, beautiful. Now we need a enemy. So enemy, the new game object. And again, create empty and call it visuals, because we need some visuals for that too. Add a sprite renderer. And let's give it a nice red, because the enemy is red, of course, right? And the size, like the same like the player. And reset the position. Okay, the enemy will have a rigid body 2D. Gravity scale to 0 and collision detection to continuous. And the visuals will have a box collider. Okay, now we need an enemy script. Open the enemy script and delete everything that's there by default. And again, we need the private rigid body 2D and a public float for the speed. And let's set it to -5. We need a minus because we will move in the other direction than the bullet. On the awake function, we do the same like with the bullet. So okay, beautiful. And we want on the start function again to set the speed. So the same like with the bullet, but just not moving from left to right, but from right to left. Beautiful. And we want to destroy the enemy if it is colliding with the bullet. So let's copy and paste this on trigger event right here from the bullet script to the enemy script. But set the tag to bullet. Save it. And let's see if I have forgotten something or if it is working as it should work. Oh, sorry. Why have I done that? Okay, let's go back into the game. Oh. Okay, nothing is happening right now. Oh, the enemy is not tagged as enemy, and it is... The visuals need the box collider to be a trigger, so is trigger. And the same with the bullet, so go to your prefabs, bullet, and the box collider we have assigned to it should be a trigger. And now let's see if it's working. So, beautiful, it is working like it should be, but the bullet should be destroyed if it is touching the enemy. And that's not the case right now. Let's see. Oh, the tag is enemy right here. Okay, so that's it. Both is working. And we can move, and we can shoot, and we have an enemy. But it's maybe a little bit too simple, because there's just one enemy. So let's make a prefab from this enemy. Delete it right here. And let's spawn some enemies. And we will do that by creating a enemy spawner. Like, you know, create a game object in empty and call it enemy spawner. And I like to give it some visuals like this green dot right here. Okay, and drag it. You know, you see our camera will show this box right here. Drag it a little bit out of this box and create 3 another game objects. So the first we will call position 1, the second position 2, and the third position 3. Okay, here we go. And the first position should be like over here. So let's go up a little bit. Oh, and they need some visuals too. I just don't like it if they have no visuals. And let's put it a little bit further here, just that we can see it better. Okay, and the position 3 should be more on the bottom. Maybe like this. We will see when we play if it is the right position. Okay, let's go to our enemy spawner and create a new script. Open the script, delete all this stuff, and we need to assign the 3 game objects, so the position 1, position 2, and position 3, and for that we need to make some public game objects. So, okay, beautiful. And we need to know which kind of object we should instantiate or create, and for that we need a public game object that will be the enemy. And we need the time or the interval, like how often should enemy be spawned, like every second, every 3 seconds or whatever. So make a public float, make it public to, you know, be able to adjust it in the inspector later. I call it spawn timer for now, okay. And we want to repeat a function every, you know, spawn timer count. So let's say for the beginning it will be something like every second, so 1f, you know, for f for float. So, and we do this in the start function. And we use the invoke repeating. And what do we want to repeat? We want to repeat the function, let's call it spawn now. Okay, here we have the function, and now we can set spawn now to spawn timer. Spawn timer and spawn timer. Okay, like this, the function right here will be repeated every second. You see, or when you type in 2, then it's every 2 seconds, and so on. And now we want to have a random, or we want to have a chance of 40%, for example, to spawn an enemy on each of these positions. So let's make it like, and we will do this with a random value. If random.value is bigger than 0. And yet now you can make it higher or lower. So let's start with 0.4 and let's see if it feels fair with this percentage. And then you should instantiate the game object. And that will be the enemy at the position 1. Oh, we forgot something right here. Okay. Oh, and we forgot something right here. So, like this we have no errors. And we want to repeat this line of code. Or these lines of code. But in this case with the position 2. And we want to repeat it again with the position 3. Okay, beautiful. Now let's see if everything is working like it should work. So, oh yeah, sorry. I forgot to assign everything right here. So let's drag and drop position 1, position 2, and the position 3. And the enemy will be in our assets, the enemy object. Okay. Oh, I forgot to stop the play mode. That's that's happening so often. I don't know why. Okay, let's go to the enemy again. Okay, here we go. And now we should be able to shoot some enemies. Let's go. Oh yeah, that's okay. I think that feels fair. I mean, it's not too hard, you know. We could decrease the chance to spawn enemies a little bit, but no, we should not do that. That's too easy. Or we should make the enemies faster or something. We will see. And you see the position of the enemies is quite not really right. Okay. So I think we can, with this point, go a little bit down, and with this one, a little bit down, or not? I don't know. Let's see if it's working out. Oh, here we go. Okay, no, that must be a little bit higher. That must be a little bit higher, and that's 1, 2. Okay. So set this one just a touch higher, just like this, you know. And I think that should be pretty good. Yep, and yep. So okay, not really exactly, but it's okay. So we cannot die for the moment, but we will do this next episode. So thank you for watching this video, and if you don't want to miss how we really make this game more juicy with the visuals and the sounds and with a little bit more of mechanics and so on, then please hit subscribe and leave a like. And I hope I see you next time. Bye!